right here. No, I'm just teasing. Anyway, I thought we would focus on current events today, as opposed to the usual interesting, riveting questions that I ask. So I thought we'd talk about what's going on in the federal government right now.
Nothing.
Nothing, absolutely. There seems to be a shutdown, they call it. And so I thought I'd ask a few questions about shutdowns in the federal government. Since 1980, how many times has the federal government shut down?
17.
22.
13. 3. 4.
None of you have said the right answer yet.
7.
4.
Twice.
Since 1980. How many times has it shut down?
40 a lot of years, yeah.
23.
23 is too high, 7 is too low. Did someone say 13?
I heard 13.
13 was too high. It was between 7 and 13.
11.
11 is the number. Good for you. Took you a while to get there. So, when those shutdowns occurred, probably you would know that.
They were all in the past.
All in the past.
Except for one right now.
What was the longest time that the government was shut down in terms
4 days.
of days?
4 days.
4 days is not correct. 13 is not correct.
22.
21 is not correct. Higher.
30.
30 is not correct. It's still higher than 30.
Wow.
45.
How many?
45.
That's a little high. It's 35 days. And when did it occur and under which president?
Trump,
Trump, that's correct. When did it occur?
17.
2019.
2017.
2018, 2019.
He's going for the record now.
Yeah, he's going for it now.
He
Absolutely.
might get a prize.
So, how many times has shutdown occurred under Honorable President Donald J. Trump?
Twice.
No, there's 3 times. In 3 days in 2017, 18, 19, and of course this year. So, employees furloughed, talk about that. How many employees were furloughed in what would be the greatest number of employees furloughed in any of these shutdowns?
2.5 million.
2.5 million is not correct. It's too high.
Too high. Okay. That's good.
800,000.
800,000 is the number.
I was there.
How did you know that?
I was there.
Okay, there you go.
I was here.
And it happened on 2 occasions. What years did they happen?
But you know where you were?
And under which presidents? And I said that plural. Which presidents? Ding, ding. You guys don't know.
Clinton.
Huh?
Clinton.
Clinton is one of them, that's right. And what year was that?
94.
Close, 1995. The other one is under the Honorable Barack Obama in 2013. And let's talk about, certainly last but not least, the cost to the federal government of shutdown. Which shutdown and how much did it cost? Was the most expensive, and which one did it?
The 35 days one had to
The
be the most
35
expensive.
days one, that's the easy one. How much did it cost?
4 billion.
17 billion.
17 billion. And what'd you say?
4 billion.
4 billion? 17 is too high, 4 is too low.
Must be 10.
10 is too high,
5.
5 billion, that's right. Exactly. $5 million.
Get there.
So anyway, they've been expensive propositions. Okay, you guys did remarkably boring as per usual. So pay up.
Plus one to keep it open.
Right.
Yeah.
Here you think it would save money to shut her down.
Back pay. My daughter's supposed to not getting paid right now either. She works really hard. honestly.
Right,
She'll get it. She's not worried about it. It's like, when's it gonna happen?
Did he get paid every 2 weeks?
Okay, we'll have a joke here. I'm not gonna say it's a great one, but it's a joke. Grandpa and Grandma are sitting on the front swing of the house and they're busy swinging, nice and gentle, nice, easy. Beautiful evening. Freezing Grandma says, Grandpa, why don't you slide over a little bit? So Grandpa kind of shoves over a little closer. They sit swinging. Freezing Grandma says, why don't you put your arm around me like you used to? Well, Grandpa goes in, puts his arm around her. They swing for a little more. Pretty soon Grandpa says, why don't you nibble on my ear like you used to? Grandpa gets up. Where are you going? Gotta go get my teeth.
Country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Shall we pray? Thank you, Lord, for this good day that you've given us. Thank you for the turning of the seasons and giving us the opportunity to see an abundant harvest coming in. We pray for safety for those in the fields and those on the highways. Today we especially want to thank you for the news that we're receiving from the Mideast, that hostages are being returned from Gaza to Israel. We understand and know that you alone are the Prince of Peace, and we ask that this process might continue. Thank you for this club, its members. Thank you for this community, for homes and churches and schools, for businesses, for all that's happening here. We thank you for the prosperity that you've granted us. We pray that it might continue. And now bless our time together further. We ask it in a blessing on this food. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen.
With the, on Saturday, we're planning on doing the Highway 10 trash pickup. I'm not sure if it's going around yet, if it's going around. I did look at the forecast. Looks like it's a 60% chance of rain. If it's going to rain, we're not going to do it. So, I don't know. I'll let you know, and you can send something out. But yeah, if it's raining. Otherwise, and then what we'll do is we'll probably just delay it by a week and see if we can get in yet this fall. So, and hopefully we get 8 people if possible. Yes.
What time will it be done?
It usually gets done, I would say about 10:30. You know, part of it depends on how many people are there. The more people, it goes a little faster. But I would say, yeah. And I got to run chains too, so I got to get my game out there. But so yeah. Any questions? Okay.
Is there a pin that goes along with the sign-up sheet?
Yep, I think it is.
Okay, our speaker next Monday is Lily Moeller, and I'm just reading what she wrote here. She won a speech contest. It's called Shaping Agriculture's Future with Lawyers, Lobbyists, and Legislators. And anyway, she's going to be going to a national contest, and let's see here. Competing at nationals in October, and that's the 28th. So say thank you, Dave, or Dwayne, for letting her do this. But where you guys come in is, she said, I would love the opportunity to receive feedback and be asked challenging questions about my speech, because at that level, everyone does a good presentation. Where people excel or not is how they answer the questions afterwards. So she's hoping for us to ask questions and that she can respond. And despite what Brad says, I have faith that you guys can come up with challenging and thoughtful questions. So anyway, that's next Monday.
Hope
and,
springs eternal.
So anyway, that's next Monday. So
Thank you. Hey, just want to read a little article that Daryl Beltman put in the local paper as well as on Facebook. It's about one of our members, Earl Welstra. So I just want to read a little bit of this to you. So Orange City has a long tradition of leaders who serve with vision, dedication, and a deep love for our community. Recently, Councilman Daryl Beltman suggested honoring this legacy by renaming the Puddle Jumper Park to Wowstra's Family Park in recognition of the Wowstra's family's 5 decades of service in the City Council. For 49 of the last 55 years, a member of the Wowstra family has served in the City Council. James Wowstra from 64 to 74, Leroy from 76 until 94, and then Earl from 99 until 2019. Leadership has guided Orange City through years of growth, prosperity, and always rooted in passion for seeing the community succeed and thrive for future generations. So just thought we'd share that with you for this day. Unfortunately, he's not here, but anyway, we thank him next week, whatever. So let's go on school updates.
Okay, first of all, at Northwestern, football was rather unique last Saturday as a bus driver ran into a post on the way in, and a number of athletes were injured, as you may have heard, and some of them, hardly any of them got to play. So the players were playing different positions. Still, they came out with a 20-0 victory over Briarcliff.
28 to nothing.
What?
28
28-0. I missed a touchdown in there. Okay, but regard what?
Did you doze off?
No, it's just the first thing I've ever forgotten. Anyway, it was a good victory. They're now 3-3, and they play Morningside here this coming Saturday. But I do want you to pray for that bus driver, because he was just weeping after that was over. You can imagine having an accident like that. You've got the most valuable people alive, because there are kids that are in there, and then to have that happen. So keep that in mind. That was a situation which I could see him saying, I never want to drive a bus again. It's very possible. But yeah, keep that in mind. The kids seem to be doing well, even though the gal, the kicker, she was in that bus and got injured some, but she was still able to play. So that's 1 o'clock Saturday. They'll be playing again. The soccer men's team, 11-1-1. Got to be the best record we've had in soccer for a long time. At least it's starting off like that. And if you want to see, they won 2 matches last week, beating Briarcliff and Doane. And they play Morningside Wednesday at 5 o'clock, and then they're home again with Hastings at 3 o'clock on Saturday. The women's team didn't have quite as good a luck. They tied Briarcliff and then lost to Doane. They play the same 2 teams, Morningside and Hastings. They play the second. They alternate that every year. This year the men are playing first and the women are playing the second game. Next year it'll be reversed. Maybe that's something we should do in basketball. I don't know. Anyway, that's the way that is. Volleyball continues to win. They're supposed to be supposedly the toughest weekend they're going to be looking for. Going to Concordia, ranked number 2 in the nation. And we took them in 4 sets, lost just the second one, and so moved ahead of them. And then went to Midland, who was the next best team as far as the conference was concerned, took them 3-0 on Saturday afternoon. So, yeah, we should be moving up as far as we were number 7 in the nation. We'll see what happens as far as that's concerned now. Wednesday, want to see them play Mountain Party here at 7:30, and then hit the road for Viterbo on Saturday. Now, I could say a little bit about Sioux Center High School football.
You don't need to.
Don't need to? Well, we've got the dad of the quarterback right here. Yeah. And he's a good, not only is he a good dad, but the quarterback's pretty good too. He was one of my favorite students when I had him back in Northwestern.
Good job. Oh, yeah.
Orange City Christian, we had a couple games last week, and Hull Protestant and Ireton, and did well, won all of those. And this week we have Hull Christian and Sioux Center Christian, which will be a little tougher. But that's what's going on. I'm not sure how the Junior Knights football team did, but yeah, just a regular week with some volleyball. Going to wrap up in about 2 weeks here, and then our season will be over.
Okay, the speaker today is Dan Hibma. He's with the Vision Builders. He grew up in our city, or went to MLC Floyd Valley, and his partner went to Unity, Ben Kurt Slavin. What I remember is probably about 13 years ago or so, shortly after they started their business. I remember we were looking at housing, you know, same thing we're looking at today. But one of the things that impressed us was just the ability to put some things up, quality buildings in a short period of time, and ones that really appealed to the people. And the other thing that was part of it, I don't know, hopefully I'm not taking too much of your time, is we went to their offices in Sioux Center, and they had a display of all different kinds of siding, coloring, faucets, different things that people could just see what was there, and then they could make some decisions. If they wanted to, they could make a change if they wanted to, but it just made a lot of people fear building a house of all the decisions that had to be made, and that was something that I was impressed with at that time. So as they've done that, they've continued to do some growth things here in Orange City, provided a lot of housing, and so I'll turn it over to Dan.
Well, thank you. I'll be honest. I was a little nervous to speak, and the reason I was a little nervous was I feel like, yeah, I'm coming back home a little bit to a lot of people I respect, and so that's kind of a big deal. As I look around the group here, I see a lot of faces from when I was a youngster, and lots of great stories about them. So thank you. So I was asked by Drew Vogel to speak, and I'm going to start off with a story, because it was the last time I really remember speaking in front of a larger group in Orange City, and they were all gray hair. So it was 1996. I was chosen to go to Boise State. Well, in 96, when you're a junior, you have no idea what's going on besides girls and sports. You're not even thinking. You know, your brain's not fully formed. You don't realize that. So they send you to Camp Dodge, okay? And you get there, and then they're like, you're going to form a government. You're like, okay. Still doesn't make sense, because now it's just a bunch of guys. And you're in these barracks and on a military base, and it still doesn't make sense. And then they're going to form your own government. And so you have to go through all these different government things. And we're sitting outside, and it's 99.9 degrees in the sun, and they're going to pick the Secretary of Agriculture. Well, I'm in the very back row, and it's hot. And then they need nominations. Well, suddenly all these young men around me decide to nominate me. Okay, great. So then you go up on this big stage, Camp Dodge, and it's just all these boys. And I was the last one to speak. And everyone before me had suits on, because their parents actually told them what they were here to do. I had no idea what I was doing. So then I gave my speech, or they did their speech, and then I did mine. And I never actually told the American Legion what my speech was. I came home and I was nominated as the Secretary of Agriculture, and they were so proud of me. Wow, you're the first ones. What did you say? I never told them what I said, because I didn't want to get in trouble. So I was standing on, the guy before me was talking about how we need to raise corn and soybean prices, which is kind of like what a politician's saying today. They're talking about all these things, and then it's my turn. And I thought to myself, what do I say to these guys? I have no plan. So I said 3 words. I said, barley makes beer. I got a standing ovation. I won every vote. I never told the American Legion why, because I was afraid of what they'd say to me. I didn't promise anything. I said barley makes beer. And I looked back and it was a joke, but I think what I recognized was these kids didn't care. Most of them were scared out of their minds. Most of them were pretty good kids trying to act tough. I bet 85, 90% of them have never touched beer in their life. I still haven't. I don't drink. But I knew my customer. And my customer was scared. They felt weird. They didn't quite understand why they were even there. They were hot. They wanted to go to the pool. They didn't care. They just wanted to laugh and feel like they belonged. So those 3 words allowed them to feel laugh. I got chocolate milk into the cafeteria. That was my big win for the week as far as legislature. We got chocolate milk. And so I was thinking about that story. I thought about a lot of it still has to do with what we're trying to do today. And there's a story about Henry Ford. And Henry Ford would say, if I was to ask my customers what they want, they would have said, I need a faster horse. And I think that's what we run into a lot today with what our work is. Customers have opinions of what they want. Sometimes, do they really know what they want? Or do they just know what they see and what they've heard? And that's how Vision Builders has got its start, is by trying to really understand the customer and to sometimes trying to promote things that they haven't thought about. And it can be a little controversial sometimes. But that's the idea of trying to understand your customer and understand what is it they're feeling and what are they. And so I give that story just to, sorry, you're all gray hair. Most of you are.
Hey.
No, you look very proud. And I remember that standing up in front and talking, and I was so nervous. And then here we are today. So let's go through our slideshow. All right, you guys are allowed to ask questions. This is very, so go ahead and ask questions. You can. We started in 03. We've been, I've actually never seen the slides, so please don't be offended. But they've given, hey Harold, by the way, I had fun with your daughter a lot too. Good to see you. I recognize you all. So, okay, 03 is when we started. I was a business major at Northwestern and then did finance and then always did construction during college and really loved it, and I was told to use my education. But I loved construction so much, and that's how I got into it. And so today we kind of have a few companies. Vision Builders, it's our 23rd year. Vision Roofing, I think we're going on 13 years with Vision Roofing. And then D&L Plumbing and Heating, we purchased that probably, I think, 5 years ago. And so one of the things I'm really proud with D&L is we've been able to keep some of that heritage. It was a very important business to town. They asked us to buy it, and we said no for several years. But then we felt like either we have to do this or start all over trying to find something to do it. And so I'm very proud of D&L. After 5 years, we've been able to make some investments into the business. And we started off, now I think we have 8 new employees that are almost all licensed. And that's a big deal, to try to gradually teach people. The licensing came out, and most of the original licenses all got grandfathered in. And so those original licenses get grandfathered, but now you're having to go through and show people how to get their licenses and that type of thing. That's a big deal.
DNL, what's it stand for?
DNL does not stand for Dan. Doug and Lauren. And so Doug and Lauren were the original founders. Our goal was, it's very hard to take over a business without massive disruption. And so our goal was, how do we push it towards the future, but not let go of some of the history that they have done and some of their legacy. So we've chosen to keep the name while pushing forward. Okay, so custom homes. We started off with custom homes, and what I noticed is people liked what we were doing because we weren't just following what other builders were doing. And that's kind of what got us started, building and listening to the customer and having some different design ideas. It sounds silly, but when I started, vinyl siding was everything. And to just not do vinyl siding and to listen to do something else was a major deal, because everyone was doing vinyl siding. And so being able to open to some of those ideas, that got us started. And so we started off doing custom homes, and that was our bread and butter. Now, over the years, we've really changed our method. And what that means is most of the people in building, they really enjoy that. And I would describe them as a golf course house. I love golf course houses, fantastic, but now as we've gotten, we don't want to build those anymore, because there's enough builders to be able to do that. And so what we tried to do is we tried to work ourselves on the opposite ends of the spectrum, and where we'll try to build something at the entry level, and then maybe one time a year we'll build a very nice house, but we do that just to keep our carpenters sharp, and I want them to be able to see new ideas. But our goal is to really try to not do, there's a lot of great carpenters building those types of homes. So our goal is to build replicatable things where we can still keep quality, but try to press it on with prices. Okay, so one of the things we started with history we started a concept in Sioux Center called Woodbridge. People don't realize it, but when we did that, we had to fight to get the land. It was a real process. Are you sure this is going to work? What's your backup plan if it doesn't work? Are you sure people are going to be interested? And so when we did this, purchasing this piece of property, we did it 7 years ago, and today we are officially completed. And we built all 99 units, and it is done as of actually Friday. We got our last certificate of occupancy. So that's a big deal to us, because at the end of the day, it was something that had not ever been seen before. After 55, and so we went as a company to Las Vegas, and we went on after 55 tours. And so we went on these after 55 tours, and then they gave out award shows. It was during the National Building Convention. So we're going, there's just thousands of people and big fancy buses, and we're going out. And we're there, and my brain just says, this is just a glorified gated community. The houses all still had a step. They were just exquisitely done gated communities. And what they showed was just this incredible, it was fun, beautiful. But then the very last one we walked through was the standard showroom. And the standard showroom was so boring compared to what we walked through. It was a complete turnoff. And so we left that thinking, I don't want to do anything like what we saw here. And so our goal was, with this concept, was A, accessibility. It can't have any steps. That's the whole point. Secondly, how do we make it where we've always felt that some of our best homes in our communities are our used homes? How do we make it where a couple nearing retirement is able to sell what they have and not necessarily borrow a bunch of money and move over into something for that next chapter of life? And so our goal was to try to not just build this exclusive club, but to build it where we can move laterally. And so that's what we did. And at the beginning, it was a challenge. And I was talking about it with someone. People would ask me, Dan, do you guys need more carpenters? And I would say, no, I need more social workers. And I was joking, but I'm 100% serious. I was visiting with Mr. Heemstra here. This chapter in life, when you decide to move into something like this, you're taking the page and you're flipping it. And what people didn't realize was it had nothing to do with the quality of construction. They would ask about 2x6 construction. We never talk about that, ever. You're talking about the transition in life. And most people that are coming to us are so joyous or in so much mourning. That's what you're dealing with, that you hardly ever talk about the structure. You're talking about a wife whose kids are home, her husband just died, the kids are home, they've got one day to pick out a house for mom, and then they're going back into the world. And so, how do you handle that transition? It's almost like ministry. And people will say, you're sitting there listening, you're listening to a husband and wife who've been on the farm their whole life, and now they've got to leave the farm, and all the stresses of leaving it, and who gets it, and all those things, and now moving. And so, the process is you do a lot of listening, and you do a lot of just walking through life, and you're telling stories. Because it has very little to do with the construction. It has to do with the next chapter. And how do you enter that next chapter? And how do you work with this, we've had it several times where they'll say, I've never changed a furnace filter in my life. My husband already did it. And now he's gone. And how do you walk alongside that customer, yet at the same time say, life's not over, it's just the next chapter. And some come into that very excited, and some come in dragging their feet. But what I've learned over the years is once they're in, then the book becomes kind of fun to read again. And so that's kind of what we've done. And so this is the Woodbridge in Sioux Center. Now, we have a few other things. I'm going to talk to the right. We've started a community like that in Orange City. We call it the Canals. When we started it, we just wanted to say thank you to Marty for working with us on the canal hoist. So one of the things, what people don't realize is a lot of our times, our fastest sell is 5 minutes. We've sold units in 5 minutes, we've sold them in 8 minutes. And people would say, how's that possible? It's possible because they're, once they see the product and they know the stresses outside of it, it has very little to do, like I said, with the actual product. It's just the next chapter of life. And so as we started at the canals, what's interesting about it is getting it started and just starting to create the community. That's the hard part. And that's what people don't realize is you're starting to create this community of people. And how do you do that? Because, again, it's not necessarily just about the construction. It's about the next chapter. How do you, I'll tell a little story. When we started at Woodbridge, I had this, we put a pond in, and I had pictures in my head of these grandparents out there with their grandkids fishing. And that's the point. That's what's pulling them in. That next chapter. How do you make their grandkids still be excited to come see Grandpa and Grandma? Right? Well, through a pond. Well, I had a customer who just, boy, he was ornery. The best part was, and I won't get mad at it, is I see him out there with his grandkids doing the exact same thing that my brain, he didn't necessarily want to be there. But then you see him with his grandkids fishing with them. And that's the best part. And when that happened, that was just music to my ears, meaning they didn't quite know what they were looking for. But then once they did, it was really good for them. Okay, so we've got also apartment buildings to the left. That's another Okay, sorry, please go along with you guys. We've grown a little, that's good. Okay, so this is what, this is something we've done different now. We've tried to grow, and it's very hard to keep quality control. So what we did over the years was we started now where instead of our guys being framers, they've become assemblers, okay? And what that means is we built the walls in the factory. So to the left is our panel shop. If you look when we're out there, all of our walls are built in a building. It's all factory controlled. There's automation, there's saws. It's a great environment to work in. And so what we do is all those panels, our number one framer, what people don't realize is when you're laying out a house, your smartest guy needs to be laying out the house, the wall. Well, now our lead framer is sitting in an office and he's drawing it on the computer. And so all his marks, his brain, he's putting it into his thing, and now it's transferring it to the computer, and the guys in the shop are putting it together. And it's a way for us to keep our employees, for them to age, and to be able to go and have a career rather than just being outside. So we build all of our walls inside, and then we haul them out in semis, and then put it up together. And by doing that, we've been able to over double our production, but we don't have problems with quality control because we have the same process the entire way along. Okay, now this is kind of our newest thing. It's called core homes. We're going to be doing a development here in Orange City with it. We're pretty excited about it. It's called the Porches. The concept behind the core homes is, what never made sense to me is why everyone drives, a billionaire drives a Ford F-150 and a high school kid drives an F-150. How is that acceptable? How is it acceptable that a billionaire will use an Apple iPhone and a high school kid will use an Apple iPhone? That's acceptable. But yet when we build houses, everything has to be special. Like every customer, if that makes sense. So if you look at it with a Ford F-150, the chassis is always the same. And what you do is you just add onto your chassis based on who your customer is. If you're enjoying and life's a little good and you don't do much work, you might go with the Platinum Edition with 4 doors and all the fancy bells and whistles. Or you might get the Work Truck Edition, the XL. Pretty boring, but the idea is you're using the same chassis every time. That's the only way to increase efficiency, is to not start over. Imagine every homeowner thinks they know where to put the light switch. Every homeowner. I have yet to not see a homeowner that knows how to do it better than the other. That's how they. But imagine if we went to Ford and said, hey Ford, I'd like the air duct right here in the door. That's what we're doing on our houses. You know, we're specifically, and that's what makes us so inefficient. And so what we're doing with the core home is the concept is the core is always the same. And that's this little girl here, this little. It's always the same, and it's based on, it'd be like a studio apartment. Now, as your family changes, as your financial things change, what you can do is add links to your core. It'd be like your accessories to your truck. The idea is, and what we've been able to do, is a core home, that house on the top left, okay, is 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath, over 1,600 square feet, and we're completing it for under $350,000 with a garage. And it's very special to the people. And so what we're doing is saying, you pick your pieces just like you would, you build it, and we're able to keep it on the price you want, but not necessarily, we're not just building less expensive using cheaper stuff to get the price. And so this is our process with core. What was interesting is we were already starting with two of them behind our shop. Dort needed housing. I drew it on a piece of paper for him and said, I have an idea. We can get you housing by this date, but you're gonna have to follow this method. And so they said within 10 days, they agreed and went through all their board, and we built 7 of them on their campus. And what's so great about it is, rich, poor, old, young. It's universally been the most talked about project I have ever been a part of. I'm at Casey's General Store, and the gal says, I love those little homes. And I'm like, they're 1,600 square feet. And you will talk, I don't know if you guys know Vern Van Herder. I had to call Vern Van Herder for something. And I went to his shop, his barn shop, and I was sitting with him. And after I got done talking to him, he was like, oh, thank goodness. I thought you were coming to chew me out because my wife and I keep going behind your shop to look at your little houses because they like them so much. And that's the fun part about that. So this product here is what we're going to be building in Orange City here soon, next spring, hopefully. The goal is how do we hit a price? How do we create community? How do we make it where they're not having to, yes, mortgage their life forever and go out of their budgets?
Dan, can you go back to that?
Yep.
Greatest? So, everyone recognizes the door area down low, but the two that are up above is actually on their, it's at their Sioux Center office. And so, this is just a few months ago, but we had some interested parties want to walk through that before Vision moved forward with porches here in Orange City. And they are, like you said, the one on the right up above there is the original kind of the core, but then you have the one to the left is the Cadillac. But it's the exact same feel on the inside of each. It's actually quite. It's so refreshing. The quality is perfect. It's just it's excellent, and it really sold us that hey, we've got an amazing product coming into town, and we're pretty excited about it. So, Dan, are you suggesting? Would you suggest that any of these guys could come and take a look at those?
Do you guys travel? Does the line club travel? So, if you'd like to come and do a tour, we'd gladly do a tour. And so that's what we're starting to do is more tours, because what's interesting is once you see it, it just clicks. It makes sense in your head. Because the one on the right looks totally different, but they're identical. Same chassis, just put together in a different way for the customer.
The metalworks or asphalt or?
Whichever the development would like.
Is that the one that's going old elementary school area?
The new elementary is where the porch is. So we went through quite a process. It was originally figured out for the old elementary, and then through process several issues and time conversations, we're doing it at the new elementary, right by the canal heist, the 3-story canal heist, and then you've got some twin homes. Just further up, closer to the new elementary, is where the porches, over 30 of those.
Will fit in there.
Yeah, will fit in there.
And so it'll create a small micro community, lots of sidewalks. What's fun again about the canals is it is filling in, and we're starting to be able to see people move into town, and also being able to see people say, oh wow, this is simple, this is working. And so how do you build on that momentum?
Dan, you're a Northwestern grad, and then you build those buildings there at Dordt. Now, I know that the two colleges don't compete against each other or want to do anything the other ones do, but where's Northwestern going to put theirs?
Just waiting for the phone call. That's what's so interesting is the smaller unit. How that actually came about was my son's at the University of Iowa, and he lives in an apartment, and he lives in a studio apartment. And I looked at it and I'm like, this is awesome. And that's what that first core is based on, a studio apartment. The concept behind, he's got 4 more years to go there. How do you be able to put, and that's what we've had people asking us, can we put these at universities? Because of the idea that you're gonna be there a while, why rent when you could buy one of these units for your children, or instead of staying there where they can create equity?
Well, you've got a son at Dordt and Northwestern. Is he living in that?
No, he's living in the old ones that are gonna get knocked down someday. So, you can see the process here. The walls are being framed. The roof sections are being framed inside. And then what we're doing, again, I would describe it as Lego. We are building with Legos. Our guys on site are not framers anymore. They are Lego assemblers. They've learned how to use cranes, and they've learned how to put it together in efficient ways. And by doing it that way, it's able to create consistency and speed, and people recognize that. And that's the beauty of the process.
So the second one in, that is built inside.
Yep.
This product.
Yep. And so it sounds,
It's not just a wall.
no, what sounds silly is then is we made quarter-inch scale pieces of everything, and then they figure out how to fit it on semis, and they're like little jigsaws, and then they've learned how to haul and how to grab off. So when they're putting it together, for instance, on the door corner, one of our assembling crews can put that together in about 1 day, and then they're ready for the next. So what's interesting, so we're working on a concept. I went to all sorts of factories, mobile home companies. What was so interesting is they built thousands of plans, thousands, but they didn't fundamentally change how they were putting it together. They're just trying to build what a carpenter is building. They're not doing it any differently. They just have hundreds of plans, and what we are trying to say is how do we do it the same every time, but be able to make it work for different people? And that's what's so unique about it. So the concept we're working with is the blue process. Built locally. What people don't realize, every bit of that lumber came from Neil Chase in Orange City. Every bit of it. Built locally, uncomplicated, blue. So this process now, I can move it to Spirit Lake. We can move our walls. You can use lumber locally, and you can use all your local subs because you've given them the roadmap of how to put it together. How do you do it? They don't need to make 14 phone calls to say, how do you want this wired? It's all very laid out for them, and it allows them to make it easier to put together, and they don't have to have their smartest human on job sites. And so that's the idea. How do we expand outside of that 12-mile radius? Any other questions? The last one, that's the last one.
How much of, I know what, at Woodbridge, kind of what they started at, now there have been some reselling and so forth. How much of those appreciated in those years?
Well, it was so fantastic. Everyone's made money. You know, they've gone up. We started off at 255, and now they're 100, a little over 100 over that. 355 and above. Everything's still under 400,000. And so that was what was unique though when we were going to these others. Most of the lowest end you'd see would be a 6, and that's or even a 9.
You said in the beginning, you were asking what's your plan B if this fails. Who's asking that?
I think, when we...
Investors or?
No, this is all through Vision Builders. I think what's unique is what I've learned is most of the things we've done have been proof of concepts. When we built our first townhome in Sioux Center, it was hard to get done because they hadn't seen it being done there. And so you're having to prove the proof of concept. And so you're working with the land development. And my challenge to them would say, I'd have to say to them, gentlemen, with all due respect, you're all too wealthy. You've made it, your kids are out of the house, dual income, no kids in the house, and you're forgetting what it's like to be broke. You're forgetting that's the cool part here. What we don't realize is how do you create equity in a house when it's completely done? And so to get builder owner occupancy, we've got to get our papers. Well, through the building inspection, if I'm missing a carpet transition, I can't get building occupancy. Okay, that's good. That's but it's almost become quality control, the building code. So the dilemma is how do you help young people build equity? And so what we've been doing, this is what's exciting. The core, which is the core is this part right here. That's completely done. It's all wired, it's all brand new service. The links can be unfinished. And so for these owners, upstairs there's all attic rooms. We can allow these for a young person, if they want to buy it with unfinished links, they can. I don't want to go on Sunday to Menards to buy flooring. Ugh, that sounds awful. But I did when I was 22. That was a treat. You'd go, you'd ask your father-in-law, your father to help you, and how do I finish my home? How do I get it done to build equity? And that's what we're trying to push, to be able to say, how do we make it where homeowners can create equity? And they have that desire. Why can you move into a house and totally gut it, and all the wires are live, right? And you're living in there, but you can't get an occupancy to move in until it's completely done. I'm not saying anything's, I'm not mad about it, but that's just how it's become. And so how do you create equity within homes? And that's what we're trying to be able to show.
Dan, I remember when I came and we took a look at that storeroom of yours, and you came over here with a new puddle jumper south of the trail. You brought 9 lots, cul-de-sac there of lots, and that started that puddle jumper on the south side of the trail. There was some resistance to that from various people, but really everybody had the same opportunity to buy those lots. Vision Builders came in and bought them, and now that obviously that puddle jumper has expanded significantly. But we thank you for what you've done for our city.
Thank you. I think what I remember vividly was there was no building permits taken out the year before. And what we talked about is you have 10 people. 1 will lead, 9 will follow. And how do you create momentum? And so what we did, and people were upset because we got a deal, but really, we started putting up, and what's so interesting is, we did one street, and now I get credit for a lot of the homes that we don't even build. They think it's us. And that's fantastic. Since then, other builders have come in and mimicked, and they've been successful, and they've been putting them up. And that's what's really awesome, and that's what we're proud of, that they carried on just beyond the first ones we did.
One other thing was, it happened years before that, Kroll's wanted to put up Heritage Estates. And, they only put up part of it, just like the first 6 or 7 units, they didn't even have the community room. But it was the same thing, we gave them tax abatement for maybe 10 years or so, 5 for sure. And, there was some concern about it, it was the unknown and so forth. Once they got built, it took off. And then it went to Rock Valley, it went to Lamar's, and Sheldon, and just really took off. Because, a lot of times with most things, people really want to see it before they go with it.
So I'd like to just thank everyone here, thank the community. Ben and I are both local Orange City kids. One of the greatest gifts our parents ever did was, and this is very unique, we went to the Christian grade school, but we went to the Reformed church. And that's what brought Ben and I together. You never really quite fit in anywhere. You went to the Christian grade school and then the Reformed church, and then you're like, but what we learned is you learned people, and you learned how to talk to them, and you learned how to be able to realize that there's not that much difference between us. We just might support a different school, and how do I find connection? And that's what Ben watched me I was 5 years older than him, and he watched me growing up. I didn't care about him one bit, because I was older, but that's what brought us together as businessmen. And so for us, we've been able to we live in Sioux Center today, but to be able to come back and forth and be able to say our home is here, and we have a lot of employees from here, and how to work beyond these 2 communities. Because I think we joke about Dorton and Northwestern, but it's our greatest assets by far. And how do we protect those assets? So.
That's right. So how big is your crew?
I never count because I don't like to. I think right now we're averaging, we've got about 75 guys. If we were to look within the D&L world, we're about 100. So when we add them all up, about 100 employees.
I want to also say just kudos to you for keeping D&L in town. You could have uprooted them and taken them to Sioux Center. Instead, you've invested in our community. You've remodeled that fantastic building. It's a fantastic. If you haven't been to D&L, you've just done it very, very well done, and it looks great. And just having D&L remain here in Orange City is fantastic. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. I think one of the greatest success stories is with D&L. Just last week, got another young man walking in and applying. And these are not bottom of the barrel young men, they're the next leaders. And I'm very excited in how we've changed that within 5 years. We have some pretty talented young people working there. And that's exciting to me because it builds off of that. So.
You know what I also like here is your design. You know, we've got carpenters, we've got builders, we don't have designers. And that's what I heard mainly about you.
And so it didn't say it, I think it was on the first slide, but what we've done is we're a design build company. And so one of the projects we're doing right now, and to me it's super exciting, again, is Remsen St. Mary's. Remsen St. Mary's had the oldest elementary school in the entire state. And I have two former students of them working for us. And so they got architectural plans done. They had a goal of 10 million. And they got the plans done, and the estimate was 25 million. Well, now you're a school board. What do? And I could see in their eyes the fear of, do we need to shut it down? Are we done? Is this gig over? And then for us to almost be a pep talk and say, not to talk about kids, I said, you're putting out good product. I have two of them. They are good young men, and they've got good ethics. They have good drive. And I just said, your problem is you haven't invested. You've got to believe in yourself. You have to put money. So we drew plans, $9 million. They raised it like that, and now we're moving the elementary school over to the high school. It's a $9 million project, but for the last 50 years at least, the kids have walked to lunch every single day from the elementary school. 5 blocks, and then they walk home. And now to be able to say, for them, they felt so insulted by $25 million, and they're like, I don't want to go look at the new Sioux Center High School. That's not us. We're not Sioux Center. Why would I want to look at the high school? It's almost, you feel bad. And what we tried to say is, don't feel bad, you're doing great. We just got to think differently, and we've got to put it together differently. We have to be and so the building's fully engineered. It has to pass all the state stamps, but we were able to do all of that in-house, and that's very exciting to us. So.
Thank you.
How's Norm?
It's gonna take some justice. Personal. Basically the same. Landspear has something. I do. Now,
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I forgot.
Could have had just
Yeah, just finish.